Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports.
I didn't talk about number one at all with them yesterday. Today we did talk about it for a little bit. Just what does it mean? It means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things of what we were trying to accomplish this year.
Gotta love coaches, man. It's not where you're at right now that matters, especially for Alabama basketball, still chasing a Final Four. The Crimson Tide has never been to the Final Four in its men's basketball history. Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm WVOA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. Well, you just heard Nate Oates talking about his team being ranked number one in both polls, the AP poll and the USA Today Coaches poll. And Rod, quite honestly, trying to keep the team focused on the ultimate goal, like I said, which is to play for championships at the end of the season. Now, it is a compliment to your program to be ranked number one, but even before the Tide got on the plane to head to Knoxville tonight, walking out the door, coming off the big road victory at Auburn, Nate Oates was trying to keep his team motivated. As we said, Alabama is the new number one, the second time in the AP poll. They were also number one 20 years ago under Mark Godfrey, first time ever in the coaches poll. They took care of business, Rod, on Saturday in an incredibly hostile environment down at Auburn. Alabama did what it's done all year, what great teams do. It made the plays down the stretch to beat the Tigers 77-69. Now, tomorrow night, it won't get any easier. In fact, it's going to get tougher. Alabama at number 10, Tennessee. Tennessee, Rodney, is coming off back-to-back losses, but not just back-to-back losses. Back-to-back buzzer-beating losses to Vanderbilt and Missouri. We're talking about as the horn went off. Tennessee should have won both those games, Rod. They didn't. Let me get you in here for some conversation. Alabama gets the win over Auburn. That's huge because we know it's the in-state rivalry. Some people call it the Iron Bowl of basketball, even though the Iron Bowl should be separate for football, but it's considered the Iron Bowl of basketball. And with Auburn being where they've been the last few years, before we get to Tennessee, just the magnitude of that victory. Even though Alabama's a better basketball team than Auburn, you have to go down there and you have to earn it.
You do. And they did.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, they went down there and really earned it. I mean, look, I thought Auburn obviously kind of controlled the game a little bit. Alabama would, get tight, maybe go up by one. Auburn would stretch it back to 4 or 5 points, Gary. When you're playing on the road like that, that's a tough game to overcome when it's kind of flowing like that. But the last 7 or 8 minutes, Alabama took control. They showed they were the best team on the court. I mean, that was really a fantastic win. We've talked about how they've overcome this season. They overcame at Auburn. Yeah,
and the game before that, we're watching video from the Florida game where, quite frankly, they blew the Gators out. It was a 29-point game at half, and Alabama just absolutely destroyed Florida. Their margin of victory in the SEC still like 20 points. It's been phenomenal. All right, I know Coach Oates has to do what he has to do. You get focused on being number one right now, you're going to get beat. And you don't want that to happen tomorrow night. But still, what a great accomplishment for the Alabama basketball program in just Nate Oates' 4th season.
Yeah, tremendous accomplishment. I mean, look, they had some turnover from last year. They've got a really young team. And to be where they are is certainly fantastic. But, you're right. He's right. That really right now, people aren't going to be talking in 4, 5, 6 months from now about who's number one on Valentine's Day. They're going to be talking about who's number one after that first Monday in April.
Alabama chasing a number one seed in the NCAA tournament. The Tide's been a 2 seed 3 times, 1987, 2002, and then 2 years ago, 2021. Rod, again, number 1 seed, number 2 seed, you're still going to meet if you both win all your games in the Elite Eight. But the number 1 seed, you would think, would assure Alabama playing that first and second round in Birmingham. So that's a big goal to shoot for.
Huge. Obviously playing close to home, all that. You have the home crowd advantage. So what a fantastic honor that would be to be number one, because Alabama's never been a number 1 seed.
All right, let's get to coach talk, Rodney, and it is going to be with Alabama head coach Nate Oates. He met with the media earlier today ahead of that matchup tomorrow night with the 10th-ranked Vols in Knoxville. And Crimson Tide is getting a lot of buzz in that number 1 ranking, but it might be coming at a bad time. As we mentioned, Tennessee's going to be in a bad mood coming off back-to-back losses, buzzer-beating losses in Nashville to Vanderbilt and at home to Missouri.
They're also coming off 2 back-to-back losses on buzzer beaters, so they've had luck go against them, and I'm sure they're fired up, ready to get a win. So, we're probably hitting them at the worst time it would be to hit them, to be honest with you.
All right, Rod, I think he's right. Listen, Tennessee will be motivated to win regardless. Okay, let's be clear on that. But when you lose 2 games in a row at the buzzer, I mean, you don't lose very often like that once. Vanderbilt was just about as bad. I mean, Tennessee had the lead in both those games late. Missed free throws against Vandy. Didn't take a dunk shot that they could have made against missed free throws against Missouri. Didn't take a dunk shot that they could have made against Vanderbilt. Wound up missing free throws there, and you get beat. And now they're down to 10. They were on the 1 line just a couple of weeks ago. They're going to be highly motivated tomorrow night to knock off this Crimson Tide team.
Absolutely. And, you talked about, I know you were concerned about the Arkansas game a few weeks ago, going on the road, then the Auburn game last weekend. This is the game I've kind of been pointing to, is this Tennessee game in Knoxville. And you know what? This is going to be a real challenge for this team. You look at Alabama, though. We've talked about it many times. They've overcome a lot of things. There were tough challenges, difficult challenges on the road, and this might be their most difficult.
And you may be shorthanded. 7-foot center Charles Bediako, his status tomorrow night is unknown. He had a knee injury against Auburn. Coach Oates said today it's not serious, but we don't know if he'll be able to play. If that's the case, Noah Gurley, who hasn't played much lately, and of course Pringle, who is a very athletic 6'9" inside player, they will really have to step it up tomorrow night, because that 7-footer, he's your rim protection. He blocks a lot of shots. Sometimes offensively he's not great, but he is kind of a glue guy for you. If you're short him tomorrow night, that's going to be a big difference in that game.
Yeah, tough blow. No question, at a bad time, obviously. But I'll say this, too, Gary. We've seen this team, once again, we've seen how they've responded. We've seen how guys have stepped up. We've seen how guys have picked up the slack, in situations when they needed that. So this will be a real challenge, obviously.
Yeah, that's a good thing about having depth, though. If Bediako can't go, as I mentioned, Gurley at 6'8" has played a lot of basketball. And Nick Pringle, 6'9", junior college transfer, is so athletic. His best basketball is probably still in front of him, but he keeps getting better and better, and they may need both those guys tomorrow night, because Tennessee is physical. Alabama hasn't lost often. Rodney, they only lost 3 games. We know that. But teams that have had success against them have been teams that have been able to push them off the three-point line, been physical with them. Even Auburn Saturday hung in that game because they played a very physical style of basketball. You can bet you're going to get more of that tomorrow night in Knoxville. On the women's side, Alabama is on a roll there, too. And you talk about beating Auburn. How about this, Rod? Alabama women have now beaten Auburn 9 straight times. 9 straight times. That's never happened. That's never happened in the series. And not are they just winning, they blew them out at Auburn earlier this season, then blew them out again by 23 points on Sunday in the Power of Pink game for breast cancer awareness. Alabama right now is in line to be in the NCAA tournament. And not just that, but have a top 5 regular season finish in the SEC. And this is the toughest league in America. So this Alabama women's basketball team, keep an eye on them and get out and support them. They play Vanderbilt at home on Thursday night inside Coleman Coliseum. So get out there and watch the Crimson Tide. All right, still to come on TITV, Alabama softball. I hate to say it's disappointing to go 2-1, but it's disappointing. They went 2-1 in their leadoff classic, and now they get ready to go to Clearwater for a huge tournament. Also, a loss for former Alabama quarterback and Philadelphia Eagles signal caller Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl on Sunday. Even though Jalen played great, we'll take a look at the Super Bowl and the Alabama connections in the game. Plus, we'll be getting to your phone calls, emails, and tweets. 205-348-9882, or you can email us at the address on your screen, TITV@WVOA23.com. This is the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, and it's been doing it for over 20 years. Tider Insider TV will return after this. Welcome back to TITV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports with Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Well, Jalen Hurts does not have a Super Bowl ring, and neither does any of the other 3 players for the Philadelphia Eagles that played at Alabama. Kansas City Chiefs got the win, but Jalen was electric in his Super Bowl start for the Eagles as he accounted for 374 yards of total offense in the game, and he also tied an NFL record with 3 rushing touchdowns. Terrell Davis of the Denver Broncos, former Georgia star, he also threw for 1, so 4 total touchdowns, 374 yards of total offense. Of course, he did fumble in the game, which was a huge play, but Jalen on the biggest stage, Rodney, continued to prove that he's up to the task.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think they're the best team in the league, Gary. I just think right there, that was one of the plays right there that was a big difference. I thought in the second half, obviously Kansas City made a lot of adjustments. Philadelphia only got 3 possessions in the second half. Made some adjustments offensively. and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, the guy finds ways to win football games.
Yeah, Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league and gets his second Super Bowl championship. For Jalen, still just 24 years old, and Rodney, more than likely, even though he's got one more year on his rookie contract, as a second rounder, it looks like the Eagles are going to extend him and probably pay him, they're saying, in the neighborhood of maybe $250 million. Also on that Philadelphia Eagles team, guard Landon Dickerson, wide receiver Devontae Smith had 100 yards in receptions, and quarterback Josh Jobe. I will mention this. I didn't think there was any Chiefs connections, but Ramsey Robinson, former Alabama quarterback, is on the staff as a staff member for the Kansas City Chiefs. So there's a connection for a Super Bowl. But, again, great game on Sunday night, and something interesting, Rodney. This probably came up on your board because you think of Namath and Starr being the first 3 Super Bowl MVPs. You think of Ken Stabler. You think of Sean Alexander, Julio Jones. Jalen is the first ever former Alabama player to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Interesting.
Blows my mind. Now, those Namath and Starr and Stabler threw for touchdowns,
right,
but he was the first one to score one. All right, here's Jalen Hurts. You know, he impressed in the game, but his demeanor has really impressed that tough Philadelphia media. And after the game, Jalen Hurts, in typical Jalen Hurts fashion, put the game in perspective.
Obviously, we had a big-time goal in the end that we wanted to accomplish, and we came up short. You know, I think the beautiful part about it is everyone experiences different pains. Everyone experiences different agonies of life. But you decide if you want to learn from it. You decide if you want to use that to be a teachable moment. And I know what I'll do.
And there's no doubt, Rod, he's learned from every scenario that he's had in his career. Again, they lost the game. Let's keep that in mind. Nobody's happy in Philadelphia, but 374 yards of total offense. The Eagles only had 417 as a team. First Alabama quarterback to throw for 300 yards in the Super Bowl. First player to score a touchdown from Alabama. And it's the first time, ironically, that a team scored 35 points in the Super Bowl and lost the game, right?
Yeah, it's also the second time that a team has had a double-digit lead at halftime and lost.
Yeah.
I know that was a real painful loss for you because the Atlanta Falcons were down by 18.
Yeah, well, Falcons had that game. Hey, listen, if Eagles fans are upset, Falcons fans are still devastated from that 28-3 lead they had over the New England Patriots just a few years ago. But for Jalen and the Eagles, it's back to the drawing board, and you know, again, he'll learn from it. That's what he's been able to do. I do want to mention this, Rod, because it was so long that Alabama didn't have an NFL quarterback really as a starter. Now you've got Jalen, you've got Tua, you've got Mac Jones, and you're going to have Bryce Young. More than likely, he'll start as a rookie. So that's 4 quarterbacks from Alabama that will be starting the National Football League next season.
Yeah. I mean, it's been pretty amazing, quite honestly, this run that they've had. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing Bryce, see which team he gets with. That's going to be a very interesting thing. And, you know, I think, obviously, Mac Jones needs to get a little better players around him.
Yeah, you know, I know the Texans aren't very good, but I still like to see Bryce go play for D'Amico Ryans. I think that would be neat in Houston. All right, let's move on. Alabama softball opened the season this past weekend in the leadoff classic at the Rhodes House, and I think we were just stunned with the first game as Alabama lost to Lehigh to start the season. And we're not used to that. Alabama did come back and beat Georgia Southern twice. They were going to play Lehigh again on Saturday in their 4th game, but it got washed out because of all the rain. Now, Montana Fouch did not start that first game, which I found interesting. She did come in relief, and in the second game, she had 16 strikeouts in that first win over Georgia Southern. Now they go to Clearwater, Rodney, for the Clearwater Invitational later this week against some of the best competition in the country. It's just one game, but were you surprised to see Alabama open with a loss?
Oh, absolutely. I was as surprised as anyone. But like you mentioned, they did bounce back. And, you know, they had that rematch game that was coming up, got canceled. But, yeah, you know, again, I think everyone was stunned. Yeah,
like I said, though, they'll learn from it. I still think they've got a really good team, but it's, you know, it's like some other women's sports. Women's sports have grown. There's so many more good teams now than there were just 10 years ago. It's harder in all of these women's sports to stay on top and even to be on top. And so Alabama's going to have its work cut out for it, but I still think they're a good team. All right, still to come on TITV, Alabama Gymnastics places high at the Metroplex Challenge out in Fort Worth, Texas over the weekend. And we'll be getting to your phone calls, your emails, and your tweets. As always, there's the number 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. You can email us at the address on your screen, or you can tweet at us using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider TV. Alabama Gymnastics placed second at the very competitive Metroplex Challenge out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on Saturday. The top-ranked Oklahoma Sooners came in first, but Alabama, a season-high 198 to take second. Alabama will stay on the road for another weekend as they take on the Georgia Bulldogs over in Athens on Friday night. That meet starts at 6 Central Time and will be broadcast on the SEC Network. Welcome back into TITV with Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. It's time to jump out on the phone lines tonight. First up is Marvin right here in Tuscaloosa. Good evening, Marvin. How are you? Marvin, you're with us, my friend. Turn your TV down. It might be a little easier on you.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Marvin, we got you, man. Go ahead.
Hey, I just want to. I just had a question. These things are still looking for a safety coach, and I was trying to say, what is the possibility he would just contact Ed Reed? You know, since he has safety experience, and he recently coached at Miami and has experience.
All right, Marvin. Well, Ed Reed's one of the greatest safeties in the history of the National Football League. Number one, great player, obviously, too, at the University of Miami. Was the head coach for a short time, Rodney, at Bethune-Cookman. He wanted more support, financial and facilities, and didn't work out. He knows football. There's no doubt about that. You know, does he want to be an analyst? I don't know. I'll tell you this. Nick Saban has strong NFL contacts. He's always said, Rodney, he respects, NFL players. I know he's very well aware of Ed Reed, and you never know is all I could say to that.
Yeah, and I don't really know how Alabama's going to split up their secondary.
Right.
Because right now, T-Rob's obviously, Tavares Robinson's the coach of the cornerbacks. They've split it up in the past here recently. Of course, Charles Kelly moving on to Colorado. So there is an open spot unless T-Rob assumes the whole secondary now. But Ed Reed, no, I think obviously he's got a lot of knowledge. And let me tell you what, you don't think he could recruit South Florida?
He could do that. Of course, as I said, Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl champion, great player at the University of Miami. All right, let's get to an email question. It's our email question of the day, and it's brought to you by KDM Service Corporation, serving your family like our family when it comes to heating and air conditioning. KDM Service Corporation is who you need to know. What is the running back position looking like for the upcoming spring practices? Greg up in Hamilton. Rodney, the answer is it's looking good. They're going to have a lot of strong candidates.
Yeah, I really like that core because, I think they're going to really utilize the run game. It's going to go back to being a little more physical. There's Roydell Williams right there, obviously from Hueytown. Jace McClellan's back. I think this is really a great opportunity for Jace. I think he's got a chance to have a big year. Obviously you've got some freshmen coming in. Don't forget Jamarian Miller, who was a freshman on this past year's team. I think the guy's really, really talented. Justice Haynes is a guy that is a freshman from Buford, Georgia. I think, Gary, he's got a chance to be a really, really special player. Then you've got a five-star coming in, Richard Young from Lehigh Acres, Florida, who's an outstanding player. So, yeah, they've got a lot of really talented backs.
And I got a feeling they're going to need them because I got a feeling they're going to run the football. They're going to throw it, too, but I got a feeling they're going to run it a lot because you got guys like that. McClellan and Miller and Roydell Williams and others, you're going to run the football. All right, we're going to take a break. We're still to come on Tider Insider TV. Baseball is back at the Capstone this weekend. We'll have it for you and more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. If you've been on hold on the phone, stay with us. We'll get to you. 205-348-9882. TITV will return right here from Bryant-Denny Stadium in our WVUA 23 studios inside the Digital Media Center after this. All right, welcome back into Tider Insider TV. I want to mention that Alabama baseball opens the season this Friday, and some disappointing news. Rod, they just can't seem to get to a season when their top pitcher's going down. Garrett McMillan, the Friday night starter, local kid, is going to miss some time with an injury. Coach Bo said he'll be out today until further notice, which is disappointing. Also, Antoine John is out for the season with Tommy John surgery, and Alabama's in the top 25 in two different preseason polls, and they'll take on Richmond for the first of three on Friday. But, again, disappointing news with the pitching staff, and hopefully Garrett McMillan will be back soon. You certainly hope so. All right, welcome back into the program with Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Let's get back out on the phone lines. Paul is with us from over in Weaver. Hey, Paul, how are you? Paul's gone. I guess Paul is no longer on.
I'm here.
All right, you're there, Paul. I heard it beeping. Hey, man, good. Glad we got you, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about y'all?
Doing terrific, my friend.
Hey, I'm really excited about our offensive and defensive hires on the football side,
right,
on the coordinators. We're fixing to see some north and south downhill running and, and Mad Dog main defenses. And it's fixing turning around. I think we're fixing to really get back to the old days. But I got a question for you. Do you think that Charlie Strong or Jeremy Pruitt, either one, will come on the defensive side as an analyst?
All right, Paul, great question. Rodney, they've both been here before.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's been some rumors about both of them actually joining the staff as an analyst. I really don't know what Jeremy Pruitt wants to do. I don't know what that opportunity might be. Charlie Strong's been rumored the last week or so since he did not get the Miami Hurricane defensive coordinator job that he may follow Kevin Steele here. Will he join the staff there as a analyst here as an analyst? Possibly. We don't know yet. He's been here before as an analyst. So it wouldn't be anything new, but yeah, he's a really good coach.
It's kind of alluded to earlier with Ed Reed. Nick Saban's going to overturn every rock if it helps his football team get better, whether it's an analyst, student assistant, a graduate assistant, in any capacity that he can. All right, let's go down to Brent and talk with Rick. Hey, Rick, what's up, man?
Hey, how are y'all tonight?
Doing well.
Hey, what was the problem with O'Brien? Because I didn't have one. I thought he did well, and he scored 49 points on Tennessee and 31 on LSU.
Yeah, Rick, I don't think Nick Saban had a problem with him. I don't think the players had a problem with him. Some fans that got together on the internet they can kind of form these groups now, and they make a lot of noise. And I think that he did a good job.
He did. Let me tell you what went wrong with him. Bryce Young got hurt in the 5th game of the year. I mean, he wasn't himself until the Kansas State game. He throws 5 touchdown passes. That'll hurt any offensive coordinator.
I'd be willing to bet you we'll never know. If he doesn't get hurt, I think Alabama wins both those games against Tennessee and LSU. All right, that's going to do it for the phone calls and emails. Thank you. We'll be back to wrap it up right after this. Time flies when you're having fun. That's going to do it for tonight's show. You can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 here on WVOA 23 or find it anytime at WVOA23.com. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. This has been Tighter Insider TV, and we'll see you next week. Have a great Valentine's night, everybody.